Hello and welcome to Just Ride Bikes. I'm David and today I want to look ahead to what new bikes we might see launched in 2026. Some of these are guaranteed to be launched, but some are wild speculation and nothing more than hope about these new bikes being launched. And do let me know by dropping a comment down below what bikes you want to see updated and expect to see updated too. So 11 bikes in no particular order. Let's start with possibly a new Canyon Aeroad. So there are rumours about Mattia van der Poel riding a new Aeroad down in Calpe in Spain, where he lives and does his training during the winter. But looking at the photos, it doesn't look that different to me, but it's hard to tell from a snapshot from a smartphone when you're riding along the road. But given the current Aeroad was launched in 2024, and we go for a typical 3-year model cycle, that would put us on 2026 being a prime time for an update. And also given how the whole aero road bike category, the likes of the Cervelo S5 and the Colnago Y1 RS and that new Factor 1 are really moving the category on, we could see something more wild than what they have right now, but unlikely to be anything crazy. I think a Canyon Aeroad update would be quite mild, a focus on refinements, probably less weight, improved stiffness rather than more aerodynamics would be my punt of what Canyon would do that bike. They're not a company known for doing wild, radical new bikes, so a modest update would be my guess. And that really shows how much aero bikes have plateaued, peak bike, if you want to call it that, with how much aerodynamics is on the table for a bike with the current UCI constraints, their rule books. And there are question marks around the handlebar as well, whether they stick with the width adjustable handlebar and the gear groove for adding computer mounts and tri-bars, which I'm not really a fan of. So I reckon a new handlebar might be in the works. And it's quite interesting that the team and Mattia van der Poel don't actually use a handlebar that comes on the stock bikes that we are sold, but the sort of old aero handlebar with the computer mount underneath the handlebar, not the gear groove. So I reckon a new handlebar would be part of the update. If the Aeroad isn't updated next year, then the Ultimate could be. The Ultimate was last updated in 2022, and the Ultimate is in a funny place right now because the pros don't actually use that bike ever. They use the Aeroad all the time, and I think the Aeroad is more popular. I don't have sales data on which bike platforms sell more, but I reckon the Aeroad probably outsells the Ultimate. And the tension, or dilemma, I guess, between an aero bike and a lightweight bike, all the pros are using aero bikes now, and us pro cycling enthusiasts are probably buying aero bikes, but there's still a big market for lightweight bikes. Still lots of weight weenies out there, people who appreciate the way a lightweight bike feels and you live in the mountains. So could we see a new Aeroad that's lighter, go down the same route as the Scott Addict and the BMC T Machine, maybe not as light as the Specialized Aethos, but lighter, and then some more aero? Or could they scrap the platform entirely and put all their eggs into the Aeroad basket and make the Aeroad as light as the Ultimate and do what Specialized have done with the Tarmac and have one aero and one lightweight package in one bike? So I don't think Canyon would kill the Ultimate off, but you never know. Specialized killed the Venge off and nobody saw that happening at all. So yeah, let me know what you think by dropping a comment down below. The Cannondale SuperSix EVO is probably due an update. Last launched in 2023, so definitely due an update. And again, like the Canyon Aeroad, a question of what could they do with it? Would they go radical like the old SystemSix, or would they retain everything about the SuperSix EVO in terms of the aerodynamic performance of it and just try and make it lighter and try and make it that sub 7 kilo or 6.5 to 6.8 kilo sort of aero bike that would make it a real tarmac challenger, which I think the SuperSix EVO needs to be. Great bike. I've always loved the SuperSix EVO, but right now it's in a funny place. It's a bike that's probably not as popular as it should be given its history and legacy. So making it even lighter, but retaining the aero and refining it where they can, so ride quality and comfort, and bigger tire clearance could be a way to regenerate interest in that platform. So that's again, like the Aeroad, that's a fairly 50-50 chance of it actually being launched. Now, if Cannondale do launch a new SuperSix EVO, does that mean the SystemSix is never coming back? Their old dedicated aero bike, and they've done the same as Specialized and dumping the Venge and putting all the eggs into that Tarmac, the SuperSix EVO basket. Or they could surprise us all and bring out a new SystemSix with some wild aero, like we're seeing what brands like Colnago, Cervelo and Factor are doing with their aero bikes. So maybe we might see a new SystemSix and a new SuperSix EVO. And another bike in the Cannondale range I think we all want to see is a new CAD, a CAD 14. The CAD 13 came out years and years ago, well overdue an update. And given the legacy of the CAD series, it would be amazing to see a new CAD 14. And hopefully, because for me the CAD 12 is peak CAD, some people would say it's a CAD 10, and the CAD 13 wasn't really a hit personally or with the market generally. It moved away from the traditional looks of the CAD 12 and CAD 10 and tried to replicate the SuperSix EVO in a metal form. So I think they have two choices. Either they continue in trying to make a metal version of the SuperSix EVO for sort of low price points and make road racing bikes more accessible, which is a very noble cause indeed. Or could they go back to the CAD 12, CAD 10 and give us that more traditional, conventional looking frame design, but with the latest advances in aluminium? And I was blown away with the ride quality of the Black Heart Road AL earlier this year. A bike that impressed me for its smoothness for an alloy bike. So if Cannondale can do something like that, I think they could be onto a winner. Yeah, so hopefully that's an outside chance of actually happening next year. But yeah, fingers crossed. On to Specialized, and will we see a new Tarmac SL9 in 2026? Well, yes, possibly. I don't think it's guaranteed to happen. I have no inside knowledge from Specialized, not seeing the team riding a new SL9 in their winter training camps yet. But if we go by the usual model cycle of 3 years, we could expect to see a new Tarmac. Or they could give it another year or 2 years and give it a decent 4 or 5 year model cycle, given it's still one of the lightest and most aero bikes you can buy, and just get some more life out of that platform. And instead of a new Tarmac, actually launch a new Venge. Because my goodness me, it's a bike that people are craving the return of more than anything else. So a new Venge, go wild with the aerodynamics. They would have to do a U-turn on their marketing speak around the Tarmac and the packaging of that bike. But I think people would forgive them if they brought out a radical looking but good looking bike that's ultra aerodynamic and still reasonably lightweight, and then Tarmac could be pushed to be even lighter while retaining the aero when it's updated in the future. So chance of a Tarmac, again like the other bike, 50-50, but maybe 70-30. And a new Venge, probably 2% chance of actually happening. So yeah, unlikely, but we live in hope. Another new bike I reckon we might see next year is a Giant Propel. And while I didn't set out to do a video on aero bikes, it's turning out that way it seems. So the Propel is Giant's aero bike, launched in 2023, very aero and very lightweight as well. I think 6.9 kilos for a top end build, so very respectable indeed. But it's a bike I think it's fair to say isn't very popular, not here in the UK at least, not compared to the mighty popularity of the TCR platform. I don't really know why that is, why it's not as popular as the TCR and why it's not more popular like the Tarmac. If it's just all marketing perhaps and the desirability of Giant, that could be the issue facing the Propel. The TCR has a legacy and a fan base, and the Propel is up against the Tarmac and the Madone and the Aeroad with all the slicker marketing team stuff going around those platforms to help them be elevated above where the Propel is right now. So the Propel is already very lightweight. I guess they can make it lighter or try and make it more aero, or maybe if they have nothing to lose, just go wild and give us a Cervelo S5 Colnago Y1 RS rival. Because if they can't win on trying to compete with the Tarmac, which a current Propel does, maybe just go wild. Just throw the rules out the window and see if they can excite the cycling fan base that way. And another aero bike that could be updated next year is the Enve Melee. This was launched back in 2022, the company's first production frame. They now have the Fray endurance road bike and the Mog gravel bikes. So they have a nice range of bikes, and the Melee is the original bike, and they all look very similar, but the Melee is the oldest bike in that range. They had Total Energies on that bike last year, but I don't think they have a pro team this year. So the bike is old enough to be overdue an update. And given they now have, because when the Melee launched, they had a space of 35mm wide tyres, wider than a Tarmac or a Madone, and mudguard mounts. Very interesting indeed. But since they have the Fray and the Mog, the Melee could go on a diet to be even lighter and even racier, ditch the mudguard mounts because nobody put mudguards on a race bike really, and give us a super aerodynamic and lightweight bike, and really, I guess, aim squarely at a Tarmac SL8 or SL9 as a bike to beat. So I reckon a new Enve Melee is very likely to happen next year. And how about Colnago? Well, the Y1 RS is just 1 year old, and the V5 RS was launched this year. So they're not due an update anytime soon, but I think the C series is. The current C68 is, I own one. It's a fantastic bike, one of the nicest bikes in the world, full stop, amazing handling, ride quality, performance, just first class. But it's been out for 4 years now, maybe 5 years, so probably due an update. So could we see a C70 next year? And I'd love to see what they could do with a C70. The C68 was a pivotal bike in the C series, which goes right back to the 90s with a C40, and that moved away from the very lugged appearance of the C64. But given the C68 and the V5 RS, which actually have the same geometry, now look kind of similar, could we see the C series go back to the old lugged form to make it look more sort of handmade and classical and traditional, to really separate it from the V5 RS. I mean, I love the way the C68 looks, but I know some people don't like the way it looks compared to the old C64. So yeah, I guess it could make it lighter because it's not the lightest bike in the world. We could see tyre clearance increase as well because it's not a bike being raced, so tyre clearance could go up. But they currently have the C68 road and all-road and gravel, but could they merge the road and all-road into one platform? So 34, 35mm tyre clearance, slightly higher stack option, so retaining the racy performance handling off the current bike, but give it that more usable geometry and tyre clearance for the people actually buying a bike who definitely aren't racing. And I don't race that bike at all. I mean, it's a very good race bike if you are racing, but around the local chain gang for sure, but not with a number on my jersey. So yeah, those are 11 bikes. I think it's 11 bikes. I expect to see updated and launched sometime in 2026. And there are probably others I've missed. So let me know what I've missed by dropping a comment down below, and let me know what bikes you want to see updated and what you're saving your money for being launched next year. And if you want to see some of the best bikes I rode and tested in 2025, then do watch your video right up here. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.